You know, whenever we hear those wild stories about cults, there's always one question that hangs in the air. It seems so simple, but the answer is anything but. So let's just dive right in and tackle that question head on, because the answer is, well, it's pretty unsettling.
Right? That's the first thing we all think. We see the crazy rules, the control, the obvious harm, and we just can't wrap our heads around it. Why would anyone stay for that? And look, it's easy to assume it's because the members are weak, or maybe not that bright. But what if it has nothing to do with weakness at all?
Okay, so let's completely reframe this. Forget the idea of a simple choice. We are talking about a prison that has been meticulously designed and built. Except the bars aren't made of steel. They're forged inside the mind. And for the next few minutes, we're going to take a tour of this prison. We're going to break down the 9 key mechanisms that lock people in. So, first up, let's talk about the traps inside the mind. These are the very first chains. They're the psychological hooks that latch onto our deepest human needs and insecurities long before any real walls ever go up. Kicking off our countdown at number 9, the prison of specialness. This one is so powerful because it taps into a fundamental human desire we all have, the need to feel important, to feel like we're part of an exclusive club. So here's how it works, and it's kind of brilliant in a sinister way. The group tells you you're special, you're chosen, you have the truth. Now this creates a major psychological trap called cognitive dissonance. When you start to see problems, your brain has to make a choice. Either the group is a lie, which means you're not special anymore, or the problem must be with you. And for so many people, giving up that elite status, that feeling of being special, is just too much to bear. All right, so you feel special. The next chain is all about emotion. Coming in at number 8 is the creation of absolute total emotional dependency. And it usually starts with a tactic that sounds nice, but is anything but. Love bombing. So at first, you are just showered with love, attention, and praise. It feels like you finally found your true family, the people who really get you. But then, there's a shift. That approval becomes conditional. It can be yanked away at any moment. This creates this desperate, constant chase for validation that feels a lot like an addiction. Leaving doesn't just feel sad, it feels like you're abandoning your entire family, and that fear of being alone is overwhelming. So you feel special, you feel loved, and now the group starts asking for more. At number 7, we have a psychological bias you've probably heard of, but this is the sunk cost fallacy on steroids. You know the basic idea? The more you invest in something, the harder it is to let it go. And you can see how it escalates. It starts small. Give up your weekends. Then it's your money, maybe your entire savings account. Then comes the big one. You're told to cut ties with your family, with old friends who are negative. Every single step is a deeper investment. To walk away means you have to admit to yourself that all of that sacrifice, your time, your money, the people you lost, was for nothing. And that is such a painful thought that most people will do almost anything to avoid it. Okay, so we've got the internal hook set. Now let's move on to the next phase, building the external walls. This is where the group starts sealing all the exits and completely cutting members off from reality itself. With those mental traps in place, it's time to build the physical ones. Number 6 is a cornerstone of control for any authoritarian group. You create an echo chamber. You cut people off from anyone who might disagree. Family, friends, the news, the internet. You create a total information blackout. And this is the result. You end up with this completely divided black and white reality. Inside the group, you have truth, you have safety, you have purpose. Outside, well, that's just a world of lies, danger, and total chaos. When you don't have any outside information to check against, the group's story becomes the only story.
But hey, just building walls isn't enough, right? You've got to make people terrified to even look over them. So at number 5, we see how leaders install what is basically an invisible force field of pure fear around the very idea of leaving.
So just imagine being told every single day that if you leave, you'll go insane, or you'll be damned for eternity, or that some horrible catastrophe will happen to you. After a while, even if some small, logical part of your brain thinks it's ridiculous, that constant repetition creates a deep, gut-level terror. The very thought of walking out the door triggers a panic attack. It's a subconscious lock.
All right, so the person is now isolated and terrified of the outside world. Now the manipulation turns inward again, and this is maybe the most insidious part. Number 4 is the weaponization of guilt and shame. This is where the prison bars get welded directly onto a person's soul.
Here's the really twisted part. They flip responsibility for everything. If the leader's prophecies don't come true, it's not because the leader was wrong, it's because of your lack of faith. If you're unhappy, it's because of your secret sins. This endless cycle of self-blame is absolutely paralyzing. It just eats away at your self-worth until you honestly start to feel like you deserve the misery.
And that brings us to our final and, honestly, the most profound section of all. This is where we see how members are manipulated into locking the prison door themselves from the inside. At number 3, we have a concept called identity fusion. It sounds academic, but it's really simple. It's the point where the line between me and the group just completely vanishes. Your personal identity gets totally absorbed into the group's mission. Seriously, just let that question sink in for a second. If your entire purpose, all your friends, your values, maybe even your name, is tied up in this group, then leaving isn't just about finding a new community. It feels like you're erasing yourself from existence. It's the death of who you are. And really, what could possibly be scarier than that?
So when your very identity is on the line, the final chains can be locked into place. And for number 2, we have to talk about the really practical, real-world stuff. Because sometimes the prison bars aren't just psychological, they're made of cold, hard cash. Or more accurately, the lack of it. I mean, just look at this. This table makes it brutally clear. Before joining, you had control over your own life, your savings, where you lived, your job. But after, the group controls everything. Your money, your house, your work, your entire social world. At this point, leaving isn't just an emotional crisis, it's a survival crisis. Where do you go? How do you eat? Who do you call? The answer is often nowhere, and so you stay. And all of this, every single mechanism we've talked about, it all leads to this, the number one reason people can't just leave. After all the isolation, all the fear, the identity loss, and the financial control, it's the absolute crippling terror of what comes next. And this, right here, is the final heartbreaking paradox. The world you came from now seems like a scary, hostile, foreign place. You've been conditioned to believe it's dangerous and empty. Inside the group, yeah, you might be miserable, but it's a familiar misery. You know the rules, you know the pain. That unknown freedom on the other side of the door, it feels like jumping into a black hole. And for so many, the known prison feels safer.
So as we've walked through all 9 of these locks, it becomes pretty clear, right? Leaving a cult is never a simple act of walking away. It's an escape. It's breaking out of a psychological fortress that was specifically designed to be inescapable. And once you understand that, it's hard to judge. It moves you to a place of empathy.
And I'll just leave you with this final thought. These tools, the sunk costs, the isolation, the fusion of identity, the fear of the unknown, they aren't just found in cults. You can see echoes of them in bad relationships, in toxic workplaces, even in political movements. So the real question isn't just, why don't they leave? It's where are the invisible prisons in our own world?